Hi, I am Eve, a private investigator in New Cologne, and absolutely broke. So I can count myself lucky when suddenly this guy came around the corner with that mission: simply bring a delivery reliably from point A to point B. Easy job, good money, but of course, it turned out differently. I am Eve Williams, and this is my story.
I still remember very clearly the day on which I accepted this assignment. If only I had known then what to expect. On the other hand, the fact that the meeting point was in the worst part of all New Cologne instead of my office should have puzzled me.
My old but reliable bike. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Not that I have the money to buy a new vehicle.
A newsstand.
Since the end of the Third World War, the German economy has recovered almost to the pre-war level. Experts attribute this to the Japanese occupiers, who mainly work in the science and supported technology with core competencies.
And they brought us the mega corporation. A bouncer drone. It checks that the permitted number of visitors is not exceeded and serves as a kick-out if necessary.
Oh, hello. What can I do for you, honey?
Hey, it's quite busy today.
Oh, that's nothing, sweetheart. You should come over when it's ladies' night. It's like a magnet for guys, I tell you. And maybe I'll even buy you a drink.
Yeah.
Of course, honey. If you need some...
Any special recommendations from the house?
Sure, sweetie. A certain bartender is off work in 5 hours. I recommend you go out with him. So, in this case, I recommend you take a look at the drinks menu.
Wow. That was probably not what he wanted to hear. Wow. Bodyguards? Looking back, I can't believe I have not yet become suspicious at this time.
You must be Miss Eve.
And you must be the gentleman who contacted me. Mr.
Smith.
Sure, of course. Smith was definitely his last name, and his first name was probably John. All right then, Mr. Smith. Your two gorillas look pretty much alike. Was it cheaper in a double pack?
Identical twins. If you are interested in their services, I am happy to put you in touch with my security company. This area is very dangerous for a young woman at night, you know.
You suggested the meeting point.
Oh, I'm quite sure of that. If I had any doubts about your professional competence, I would not have contacted you.
Well, now that you mention it, this place doesn't look like the kind of establishment that someone like you would normally hang out in.
So, then tell me please, in what kind of establishment does someone like me usually hang out?
Well, you know, your suit is clearly not off the shelf and you can afford 2 bodyguards. I mean the kind of place where someone like me has to invest a month's salary to buy a small Coke. A better...
I see. But they serve a really good jambalaya here.
Interesting. Is the quality of the food the reason why you didn't even order water, but just smoke one cigarette after the other? And those 2 double lotties behind you are definitely nothing more than a happy round of scatting, aren't they?
You're a good observer, Miss Eve. But I'm here on business, not to eat. This hangout is as good as any other, don't you think?
So, what can I do for you?
The job is simple, but very important. You should bring a package to a recipient for me and make sure that it is received undamaged. That's all.
Mr. Smith, just to clarify, I believe I'm listed as a private detective agency in the business directory, not as a parcel deliverer. Therefore, it's understandable I'm a bit perplexed.
I understand that your scope of services usually includes other types of service. Miss Eve, However, it is not the kind of package that would be entrusted to an ordinary delivery service.
Aha. Sounds to me like smuggling a package of drugs for you.
Oh my heavens, no way! Do I look like some second-rate drug dealer to you?
Maybe not necessarily like a second class.
Nah, you have balls, Miss Eve. I like that. Don't worry, it's not about drugs. It's about a car. A collector's item. A classic car of considerable value to its buyer. Your job is to drive the car to its new owner without it getting a single scratch.
I wouldn't have thought you were a car dealer, Mr. Smith. Why can't you simply take the car to its owner? I'll have one of your strong employees do it. I fail to understand why I'm needed in this situation.
That's a fair question, Miss Eve. I simply don't have the time. Immediately after our conversation, I have to leave town for a few days on business. Esteban and Juanito will accompany me. As you can see, I have to rely on external support, and your reviews on the internet have been top-notch. So what do you say, Miss Eve?
I apologize, Mr. Smith. I greatly appreciate your trust in me, but unfortunately running errands is not within the scope of my offer. However, I would be more than happy to provide you with the contact information of a trustworthy logistics company.
Well, Miss Eve, of course that is a great shame. Indeed, I would have thought you had a better business acumen.
Mr. Smith?
In view of your financial situation, the demand for private investigations by a small detective agency like yours is currently not very high. Or is it? I heard you have some difficulty paying your bills. You know, Miss Eve, I chose you because of your good reputation online. The job is done quickly and easily, and I will pay you an extremely generous fee for this. I'll even give you an unregistered crypto wallet right in your hand. No worries about tax, huh? But I understand, of course, when money earned easily and quickly is below the dignity of your honorable guild. I wish you every success in your future professional career.
I have no idea how you know that, Mr. Smith, and it almost sounds a little like blackmail to me. But I'm afraid you...
Excellent. I will give you the coordinates for the place where the car is parked and where the car will be handed over. Plus a small advance on your fee. I'll unlock the car's smart lock for you in a moment. Oh, and Miss Eve, it is important that you keep the handover time slot exactly, okay?
Yeah. I know. Even if Smith had displayed a sign that boldly stated, warning extremely suspicious, in vibrant neon colors. That was youthful and broke. Hey, what would you have done in my shoes? The address Smith gave me led me to a centrally located parking garage that was open 24 hours. After it had poured like waterfall for hours, I was happy to spend the rest of the way in a closed vehicle for the time being. Fortunately, there wasn't too much going on in the parking garage. Now I just had to find the right car. It should be a classic car. No, it's way too new. Can't be.
No, this is not a classic car. That's not it. That isn't it.
No, it's way too new. Can't be. No, the bronze-colored one isn't either. Yeah, nailed it. Now I could start. I had a long drive ahead of me. Though the circumstances of this job were really weird, at least it wasn't about shadowing the spouses of poor cuckolded husbands or wives to find out if they were cheating. When I decided to become a private investigator, I had imagined the job to be a bit more exciting, though. My birth parents couldn't or wouldn't raise me, which is why I've been on my own since early childhood. As expected, I was a difficult and rebellious child. I had gone through almost 30 foster families by the time I turned 14, until my future mentor took me in and adopted me. Sensei Johan. He was a wise and kind man who soothed my hot temper with the teachings of Buddhism and burned off my excess energy by teaching me the Indonesian martial art pencak silat. Unfortunately, after just a few years, he was shot in a robbery and died. The culprit was never found. The police, who were completely overwhelmed and corrupt to the core, hadn't looked too long for the perpetrator. That was one of the reasons I became a private investigator. But just when I was happy that this assignment was wonderfully delightful, the engine made a strange noise. jerked a few times, and then stopped. Despite several attempts. What the The tank is empty? The car must not get scratched, Miss Eve. It is important that you keep the time slot, Miss Eve. Would it have been too much to ask that idiot Smith to fill up the car with gas before I took it over? Who came up with such a dumb idea anyway? It was like sending an important package by mail and not putting enough postage on. Meanwhile, it was...
At least it stopped raining. I kept pushing.
Suddenly a departure appeared. A gas station. So I seem to have some good karma left after all.
Oh, hello. Seems like you got stuck. Did you have a breakdown?